At the start of the 1970s, the fastest and sportiest series production car made in Germany was the Porsche Carrera RS. Today is the classic Porsche and is the car that increases in value the most, even some minor technical issues. The performance limit for the Carrera is very high, but then it gets very narrow. That means that the limit between a nice drift and flying off the track is not very big. Only the real experts know how to drive the Carrera the right way. A Porsche meetup is where the differences between the original Porsche RS and a clone of it that is almost exactly the same are explained, and also rare and classic Porsche models are shown off. In a modest garage on the Tegernsee Lake in Bavaria in Germany, Thomas Müller's Carrera RS is belching out smoke. Thomas Müller is on his way in his dream car to a Porsche meetup, but the rain threatens to ruin the event. It is really unfortunate for an event like this when the weather is like this. People have gotten their cars ready, washed their cars, and of course want to drive there in good weather. Who wants to drive his car in the rain after all? And naturally, it will not be very good for the event, because some will of course say, I just don't want to bring my car out when the weather is like this. It isn't optimal to drive around in weather like this, but after all, it is a car. And a car has to be driven. Letting it sit around definitely won't improve it. There was no rust protection right out of the factory in the 1970s. For that reason, Thomas sprayed his Carrera with a see-through wax layer to be able to drive it in the rain. The interior ventilator, the heating, and the windshield wipers back then were miles from where they are today. Yes, that is of course the technology of the 1970s. We have a fan here that more or less blows. We have a windshield wiper that more or less wipes. You can't compare that with the cars of today. But Thomas does not let the rain and his bad views sour his mood. And despite the situation, he drives over to the Porsche meetup. He has set up a meeting with his friend Harold, who also owns a rebuilt Carrera. Thomas was right. Due to the weather, only a few Porsche models show up at the event. It is a chance for Thomas to explain the difference between an RS and a rebuilt Porsche. The difference compared to a Porsche 11 of that time is in the rear area, mainly the rear spoiler and the back bumper part. Otherwise, just visually, the differences are very hard to recognize for the layperson, or even for the Porsche fan, who really isn't into it, all the technical details that much. It isn't such a big deal to make an RS clone from a 911. It's tough to recognize under the circumstances, though. A large number are rebuilt, and you have to watch out that you don't get a fake. Thomas's friend Harold explains how he rebuilt his 911 to turn it into an RS.
Here we have a 2.7-liter Porsche base engine, which was then optimized for power in the form of increased CCs, different camshafts, a flywheel from RSR, and many other small details.
Air filter,
different carburetor. The car now has about 230 to 240 horsepower.
Yeah, when we go over at the original, we see on first impression, the big difference is when we only look at it visually here in the
suction tract.
In the suction tract, I can build a car that is the same, except for the production number. That is possible today. The parts are mostly available. Crankshaft, this red engine cover is incredibly hard to get. And you have to have time and a bit of luck. Then you can still find it. You would definitely be in a position to build it, and even a specialist could not tell that that is a rebuilt car without seeing the production number. Thomas looked for a long time to find his RS and is now the proud owner of an original Carrera. This is a Porsche Carrera RS made in 1973. It's one of about 1,500 cars made, and Porsche added RS for racing sport in 1973. They wanted to build a car and only planned on building 500. It went so well, which no one in the marketing department had thought would happen, so that in the end they had to build 1,500 of them. The big difference compared with the 911 is at that time, first in the body. For the first time at Porsche, they had a plexi rear spoiler. And the name of the car, the nickname is Entenbürzel, which means duck's butt, which is designed to provide more downforce and thus have a better street position. It also drives like a bat out of hell. The weakness is, at really high speeds, the front starts to feel light, so you really have to be brave to take this car to its limits. Yeah, there were 3 variants of this car. This one, the car that we were looking at, is a touring. The interior, as you can see from the seats, is from really normal 911 from that time. Slightly more comfortable versions. There was also the light build with the different kinds of seats with bucket seats. The typical curled screw down here. That was even more Spartan. And there we see some cars, the RSR, which was the absolute highlight for this series. The Carrera RS was the fastest production car in Germany at the time. In 1973, the Maserati, the Ferrari, and the Lamborghini were all slower. The additional headlights, the Saibs, were also available back then as accessories because the light is not the strongest. And at night, the added headlights really do help. There were these additional headlights and the headlight ring made of chrome. And on this car, they were painted the color of the car. 6-cylinder boxer engine. Let's listen to it. Yeah, the sound is of course that classic boxer sound, that typical boxer growl. It's like poetry. Even in the evening after work in the garage, to just turn on the engine, that just makes my whole day. The RS is in many ways unique. It is the first Porsche of the 911 series that carries the Carrera symbol on it. In comparison with the normal 911S, the RS has a thinner glass and sheet metal and is at about 100 kilograms lighter. It is also the first Porsche with a large rear spoiler. The engine has a more sporty camshaft, modified cylinder heads, and larger 210 horsepower carburetor. In total, 1,590 RSs were built, and 1,300 buyers bought the comfortable touring version with its comfortable interior that we see here. Thomas is cleaning his RS for the Porsche meetup the next day. The man who brings me the oil.
Hi, Thomas.
Finally, wait, let's go. Yeah, idle is good. Are you coming? The engine has to run when you're checking the oil because here we have a dry sump lubrication. And if you don't do it when the engine is running, everything runs into the dry sump and you don't have the right oil quantity. But are more likely to put too much in. Here about half a liter should be put in. So pour it in. It has to run well tomorrow at the race.
Not that you get stranded.
Yeah, so that we don't have engine damage. You have to regularly check the oil, actually after each trip, and if something is not right, that is very, very bad. For example, the best way is to check it after each trip that you take. So yours is running well. We'll see each other tomorrow at the meetup. Bye, Mickey.
Bye-bye.
Due to the bad weather, few people have come to the Porsche meetup the next day, but Thomas still discovers some interesting models as he looks around with his friend Harold and his son Max.
Thomas, was hast du denn da?
That's really something different. I've never seen anything like that. Yeah, it's fun to drive. It's just like a go-kart. Can you open that? Let's take a look at it in the inside. Yeah, with air, right? Gas compression spring? Gas pressure, it works with air. Yes, take a look. Incredible. And you take a car to the rallies, right? Just even speed races, old-timer rides, and small stuff like that. Nice. What do we have here? It's reserve air for the cylinder here. Oh, yeah. Top rate. It's interesting. Exciting. I've never seen anything like that.
An absolute rarity.
An absolute rarity.
It is rare that someone rebuilds a Porsche so individually.
The Porsche rebuild is started like a real race car and also sounds like it. Can we see the vehicle? Yeah, for sure. Thomas definitely wants to look under the hood. This unique car supposedly goes 270 kilometers an hour. And what kind of base vehicle was that? A very normal 44 coupe. First generation? Yeah, first generation. The rebuild of the 944 took several hundred hours. Without power steering. Yeah, it's clear. That's part of it. A car like this with power steering, an air conditioning, CD player, and ABS and navigation, it's not supposed to be possible.
That is not a car for Sunday drivers.
Thomas, Harold, and Max move on, and they have now discovered a real classic. What is this?
Oh, the light is on.
Oh, a 911S.
A beautiful car.
Also a very exclusive color like it was in the 1970s.
It was standard back then. 911S, Thomas.
911S. Fox from the Fox rims, original. Yeah, the oil flap model.
That makes it very valuable.
Earlier, Porsche for a while had these oil-filled ports. And there was rumor that that was done away with because some relatively unknowledgeable people put gasoline in it. For that reason, they later put the oil-filled port in the engine compartment.
But they are very much sought after now.
Because they're relatively rare.
Makes that car incredibly valuable, but also inside, an original steering wheel.
Yes, the perforated seats, perforated leather. The Targa roof is always a bit of a problem for them, getting it secure and tight. In my view, the Targa is getting more and more popular among car enthusiasts recently. Earlier, it was intended that way due to the US regulations. There was no full convertible at that time, and that was the possibility to get a bit of fresh air and to hear the engine.
Also, from the point of view of the gap widths, it has very nice gap widths.
Very clean. Here, the gap overhang, it's really clean. Either original or rebuilt, we have to ask the owner. Very nice car, I think. It's very meticulous work, aligning the hood so it sits flush. The gap width fits the length here in the front and in the back, that the edge is clean. That's often a problem.
Work to adjust it, that takes hours. To set it so that it fits exactly, so that it is really a continuous line from the top to bottom.
And you also see here that it is difficult. When you look closely, then it gets a bit higher here.
It is exactly the same on mine. That can't be done any other way.
Yeah, that can be done, and we all have to assume that. From my point of view, the cars also should not be better than the ones that come off the production line.
They were sold that way. Every Porsche man from that time can tell you. It was very normal, but the gap was very variable.
Thomas and Harold discover a very special Targa in the large hall. Restoration during about 9 months.
Yes, 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours per day, every day.
He is very optimistic projection to try to get a car like this in top condition in just 9 months.
The old Targa was found in Alaska. Look, that is also modeled with the oil flap. Targa, but conserved here so that it doesn't rust any more than it has. you can really turn that into something special. That is always a question of the time and effort needed that you use and that you have to put into it.
Even if it looks this bad, this will get a new mud flap. You can get one of those now without any problems. No problem.
Oh, the interior is a replacement parts store.
Oh yes, exactly.
Oh, look at this. The rubber strip is on, the chrome strip is on. It's complete.
But it's complete. I have already restored two. The advantage when you restore them is that you know that it is done well. If you buy a car made standard in America, you never know if it is good or not. You have to be able to put up with a lot.
Okay, let's look at the back. It looks good, but here, be careful how you touch it.
Those are just fragments.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Cut it all off and replace it with new stuff.
Oh yes, that's how it looks when the cover strip is off. And if you look in here, I can do that from below. Oh yes, the holes all the way through. And it will also look exactly like that over there.
Don't knock on it that hard.
Yeah, these are load-bearing parts. You have to take a look at that. It's really more than just a little bit of work to fix this up. Okay, when I look at this car that is fixed up as good as it gets, the very best, then it would be worth, let's just be liberal in our estimates, somewhere between, I don't know, 50,000, 70,000 euros. But I calculate the time and effort for restoring this car. If you had it done in a specialized body shop professionally, 100,000 would be enough.
So I think it would take at least 100,000 to get this car into good condition.
The next day, the sun finally breaks through. Thomas and Harold want to take the opportunity to try out both of their new Porsches. To do that, they are building a slalom course because they don't want to test to the limits of the 911 on an ordinary road, but first in an isolated area. Well, first is the safety aspect. You can drift here without endangering anyone else. And the worst, you could only put yourself in danger if you overdo it. And it's just fun. Drifting is not the fastest way of getting through the curves, but it's one of the most beautiful. The fun of drifting with the Carrera is simply that, put really bluntly, it is really a nice rear-end slider. That means you can let the rear end come at you. But you also have to drive with a bit of brains because also it can fly off the course, especially here, easily. And that would be unfortunate for a nice car like this. Particularly because the Carrera RS is one of the most sought-after classic cars. The price range starts at over 200,000 euros for well-maintained originals. For top models, more than 300,000 euros is possible. At the start of the 1970s, the Carrera RS was unbeatable in the GT class on international racetracks and thus represented an additional building block of the Porsche legend. For a sprint to 100 kilometers an hour, the RS needs only 5.6 seconds. At that time, it was a sensational number. As the first 911, it has differing tire sizes in front and in back. Drifting is a game of oversteering and understeering. So in other words, how did Walter Roll define it? Understeering is when you first see that tree. And oversteering is when you first hear that tree. That means that in oversteering, the rear end breaks out, and that is the nice game that when you let the rear end come at you, controlled using your accelerator pedal, you can experience that nice drift. The threshold for the Carrera is relatively high, but it is then very narrow. That means the difference between a nice drift and flying off the track is not very big. Only trained and experienced drivers like Thomas and Harold should dare to attempt to navigate that thin line. You can drive the car to the track, do your driving, and then drive back on a normal road. The car always has its positive side, so that no matter where you're using it, it is more or less good for daily driving. Of course, the threshold is very high, so you should also then have a little bit of experience on how to get the car under control again. From the racetrack, Thomas drives the road home again in his RS. On dry roads, the Carrera can really show what it has, more than yesterday in the rain. The fun of the car when the road is clear and dry is the acceleration, when you hear the engine. And everything around it, hearing it, seeing, acceleration, it's very nice. The threshold is very high. Driving is just fun. It's really has a nice personality up to a certain point. But when that point is reached, when you get to a certain speed, the front gets light and the back end will come at you fast because there's a lot of weight back there. And the engine is in the back, and of course it can break out back there. The difference is like night and day. You don't have any electronic driving assistance, no stability programs, no ABS, no power steering. In fact, everything is manual work, just like back in the 1970s. And that's what really makes it fun to drive. In curvy overland roads like these here, the Carrera RS is at home. It can use its good street position, maneuverability, and its sprinting ability to the best. After all the kilometers put behind him on the road and the track, Thomas now drives to a specialist garage to have his RS checked. Let's have a look. I didn't notice anything unusual. During the slalom, it went a little bit to the side. Brakes, wheel bearing.
The tires are okay. The usual wear and tear parts are brakes, tires, if you drive them a certain way, the drive shafts, and what can happen is that there will be leaks in the engine or the gears. But we don't have that here. This car is in good condition, despite the heavy driving.
Let's take a look at the engine.
Exactly.
Yes, let's do that.
When that happens,
The engine not only has to be checked from below, but also from above.
looks quite good,
Yes, hopefully.
just as we have left it.
Is everything okay so far?
It is okay.
Yeah, after having it looked at, it looks good. I can drive it again.
Exactly. The 911 RS is a good car. You have to maintain it well, though. But if you do that and don't overdo it, it is a great car.
I'm relieved. I mean, it can always be something, that is clear, and for that reason, having it checked is important, also after driving it, so that you can really enjoy the car the next time you take it out. Driving fun is part of the basic features of the Carrera RS, just as is the dependability. About 2/3 of all models ever built are evidently still on the road, and anyone who owns one like Thomas Müller won't want to let go of it. Everyone else will have to make do with a well-made clone. It's not an original, but the joy of driving, it is the same.